Following on from the previous video, we got to this stage here. In the previous video, we already found that a equals a half. We now need to find b and c. So really, we are trying to find a, b, and c in such a way that this whole thing here equals this thing here. So the trick here is to now look at it in terms of x squared. So you can imagine this as being 1x squared plus 0x plus 0x to the, so this is to the power 1, this is to the power 0. So this thing here is exactly the same as this thing here. And then now just look at it in terms of x squared here. So if you look on the right hand side here, looking at x squared only, here this times this will give you ax squared. Just we remember, we are trying to get this side to be the same as this side here. So we are entitled to just look at the x squared term only. So now we are just looking at x squared term only. This, hang on, this times this here will give us plus will give us plus bx squared. So this times this will give us bx squared. We don't really care about the constant a here, and we don't really care about this bx here. We don't really care about this term here because it's going to be 0. So let's just look at it in terms of in the x squared term only. Okay, so now in order for us to get this whole thing to be the same as this, we are entitled to just look at the x squared term. So we looking at this here, x squared here. We need to find a and b in such a way that that it equals 1x squared over here. So we already know that a is a half. Okay, so hang on, let's start again. So we are currently here. Now let's just look at it in terms of x squared only. Okay, so that will then give us this here. Now in the previous video we found that a equals a half. So then this is the case. So remember, we are only looking at it in the x squared term only. So we are looking at x squared here in terms of x squared. So now in the previous video we know that a is a half. So now it's like you saying you've got one elephant here. On this side you've got half an elephant. Then b must be the other half, which is a half. Well, looking at this, b equals a half. Looking at this, b equals a half. Okay, so now we've got b. So we know that a is a half. We know that b is a half. So now we need to find c. Now to find c, similar trick, but this time we are going to look at it in terms of x to the, in terms of the constant. So you can imagine this thing here as this. Okay, we could look at it in terms of x to the power of 1, if you like. We could just look at it in terms of x, but choose the easiest thing. This, looking at it in this term here in terms of a constant, is a lot easier. So hang on, let's start again. We are currently here. We can imagine this as this whole thing here. Now but now we're going to look at it in terms of the constant. The constant on the left hand side is 0, but we are going to look at it in terms of x to the power of 0. So on this side here, x to the power of 0 is really a constant, okay, a single number, not x squared and not x. We are looking at it in terms of the constant here. We are not looking at it in terms of x squared. We're not looking at it in terms of x. We are looking at it in terms of a constant. So this over here, the constant here is really 0. Okay, so well, this times this wouldn't give us a constant. The constant would be a times 1 here. That would be this a. If you try and do this here, this times this will give us an x squared term, which we don't care about. This times this will give us bx, which we don't care about because we are looking at it in terms of a constant. While constant would be this times this. So constant would be this times this. So looking at it in terms of the constant here, then this times this here would be a. This times this here would be minus c. So remember, the constant is well, we don't care about this. Don't forget the constant is really on this side here. The constant is 0. So you can say 0 equals this thing here. So therefore, c must be a half. Okay, so now looking at this, we know a, we know b, and we know c. A half, half, half. Yeah. So if you want to integrate this, then rewrite it in terms of this. Okay, so that will then take us to here. Okay, so now we can concentrate on integrating each part individually. So this here is a constant, so take it out. So that will then give you this, and then this thing here. When you're looking at this here, break this up into two fractions. So you've got this thing here, that's this fraction here, and then on a separate occasion break this up. So this thing here is this thing here. Okay, so integrating this thing here is the same as you integrating this, this, this. So now integrate, that will then give you this. Okay, because this thing here is going to be the absolute, well, it's going to be log here. Okay, and then this thing here, well, integrate this, it will give you this. And don't forget, it's got to be, well, this 2 here will become a 4. You have to think about it. Integrate this, it will give you this thing, but then bear in mind that there's a 4 here, not a 2. Okay, because of this. But think about it. So from here, that will then take you to here. And remember, when you try and integrate this here, always keep an eye out on 1 over something squared plus another thing. So well, this thing here will when you integrate this, it will give you this. Okay, but keep an eye out on something of this form here, and then it will be the arctan. Well, integrate this, it will then give you this. So overall, the answer will be this. Okay.